Thank you everyone for joining this live talk to learn a little bit more about the Syrian refugee crisis and how this impacts our work in Jordan, where we support Syrian refugees inside and outside refugee camps. My name is Matteo. You probably met me in the previous live talks if you managed to attend. I've been working for 3 years at Mercy Corps now, and I'm here doing this live conversation with Hana Shalouf today, and Rachel and Jason, who are from the fundraising teams in Europe and in the US. So thank you for joining us and supporting me in the live conversation today, Rachel and Jason. Before we start talking about the Syrian crisis and how it affects life in Jordan, I just wanted to remind everyone that if you haven't already, and if you feel like making a donation, you can navigate to our website and make a donation there. It's definitely not mandatory, but feel free to donate whatever you can if you want to. With me today are Rachel and Jason, like I was saying. Do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. If you have any questions, you can feel free to enter them into the chat at any point, but we're going to be addressing the questions at the end. So,
thank you, Jason. Yeah, definitely. Let's all add any questions in the chat, and Rachel and Jason will support. But we also got some questions already via email, which we'll be able to ask Hannah later on. So yeah, to help us understand a little bit about our work in Jordan and how we work with Syrian refugees, Hana Shalouf will now introduce herself and how our work there and her work there, sorry.
Thank you, Matthew. Hi, everyone. My name is Hana Shalouf. I'm a humanitarian worker with over 8 years of experience. I have been working with Mercy Corps for almost 5 years now. It started with the Child Protection Project as a protection officer in the camps and the host communities. And then I moved to support the technical team in terms of the psychosocial support activities in the camps, Azraq and Zaatari, developing and designing new activities that could align with the camp's community needs and context. I'm currently serving as a program manager for the psychosocial support program in both Azraq and Zaatari Syrian refugee camps, as well as safeguarding focal point for Mercy Corps.
Thank you, Anna. As you all probably know already, March marks the 10th anniversary of the Syrian conflict. You've probably seen some of our emails going out in the past few weeks. A conflict that has displaced and killed, unfortunately, many people since 2011. The conflict really resulted in both internal displacement. Many people, as you can probably tell from this picture, had to stay in Syria, and many others had to leave in bordering countries, in neighboring countries. One of the main countries where Syrian refugees fled to is Jordan. Yeah, and I wanted to speak to you, Hannah, speak with you, Hannah, about how this crisis really impacted life in Jordan.
Okay. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
so as we all know that millions of Syrians have escaped across borders, fleeing the bombs and the bullets that they have devastated their homes, looking for a safe space and a safe life for them as well as for their families, for children. The families have suffered a lot under this cruel conflict that has killed hundreds and thousands of men, women, and children. Now in Jordan, over 655,000 men, women, and children are currently trapped in exile. 80% of them are living outside the camps, while more than 139,000 have found their lives at the camps that Zaatari and Azraq. We have two huge refugees camps in Jordan called Zaatari and Azraq refugees camps. Many have arrived with limited means to cover even the basic needs, and those who could at first rely on savings or support from host families or are now increasingly in need of help, especially for the PSS, as we know that the COVID situation now increasing the stress and anxiety between the families who are already living in the camps. It is estimated that 93% of refugees in Jordan lives below the poverty line. Syrian family who have been displaced had their lives, daily routine, and social structures substantially disrupted in many ways. They have also witnessed extreme, huge violence related disturbing events, and many are now far away from their home, from their relatives, friends, and even from neighbors, and the one they love the most. Stress, fear, and anxiety among their children and parents can contribute to domestic violence, abuse, neglect, especially for men, especially for women, female, adolescent girls, and the children as well.
Thank you. Yeah, when we were sort of like talking about life in Jordan a couple of weeks ago, you showed me this picture that I think is very powerful. It's very nice, and it's from Zaatari camp. Can you maybe talk a little bit about our work in the Zaatari camp, and also about what this picture represents?
Okay, as a Mercy Corps, we have built spaces. We call it as a safe spaces for the community members inside both camps, Azraq and Zaatari. And this picture is one of our safe spaces inside Zaatari camp that serves all the generation in the community. We're providing psychosocial support to the children, adolescent, female, boys, adults, and also the caregivers. This picture actually is one of the most pictures that I love because if this picture you can see it's a caravan actually. One of the Syrian refugees painted this, and if you can see the Arabic word behind the girl's head, it's Ana, which means me. They painted it with their hands. We participating in that painting. This is one of our safest spaces that we can provide for the caregivers psychosocial support, while one of the caregivers who's a Syrian painted that. And we also provided some kind of an activity called cultural heritage. That cultural heritage is provided to the children to connect them with their homeland that they have never seen, because most of the children that we are now providing the service to has been raised in the camp, and some of them actually were born inside the camp. So we're trying to provide them with some activities that can connect them to their homeland and keep them remind of the culture, traditions of their homeland, as well as to strengthen the relationship between them and their families as well.
You were also mentioning another refugee camp where we work, which is Azraq, a little bit earlier on. Can you tell us a bit about this picture here and our work inside Azraq,
Yeah.
which is definitely a more complex environment?
Yeah, for before starting describing this picture, I would like actually to give you an overview about the two camps that we are working in Jordan. These huge camps, one of them called Zaatari, which built the first in Jordan for the Syrian refugees, with it's unorganized. A lot of people came from different cities inside Syria with different traditions, with different cultures. When we go back to Azraq camp, it's more organized, but there is something very difficult inside Azraq camp. Azraq camp, it's like divided into four areas, each area called village. And inside the camps, there is a restricted fence between around surrounding the camp. Inside this camp, there is another restricted area called Village 5. This Village 5 is a restricted area, and the community who live inside this village call it as a prison. Like they share with us, like we are living in a prison inside a prison. Here, I don't know, maybe if we can remember in the beginning of COVID, when the world got crazy and everything shut down, and there is a lot of a closing for all the markets, for all the people, and for no one allowed to go outside the home, and we got crazy. No, we cannot stay at home. We need to go out. We need to work. We need to go to schools. And the people got crazy because they cannot go out their homes. While in Zaatari, in Azraq camp, especially Village 5, it is their life, their life. They cannot get out of the home, even there is no corona or COVID-19 virus. The people inside Village 5, they cannot go out even for educational purposes. The people who are allowed to get out of Village 5, who have an urgent health case or needs a medical urgent intervention to be able to get out of the Village 5 in Azraq camp. This one of the biggest challenge that we face, because the people there are the most need for the psychosocial support, because they can go nowhere. They don't have even the basic needs of the social life that they would like to have for them, for their children. Maybe, and also their children, some of the children then do not know what does mean by a garden. What do you mean by a garden? What do you mean by a huge playing areas? We are trying in Azraq camp to provide them with the needed psychosocial support, for especially for the caregivers, because they have the responsibility to raise their children in a good positive environment, trying to provide them with a positive parenting skills to be able to establish a good relationship with their children. This caravan inside Azraq camp is something related to the cultural heritage activity that we provide to the children. This picture, specifically this picture, is related to the Syrian traditional houses in Syria. This one of the sessions that we provide inside the activity called the Syrian house, or El Beit Suri in our language. The traditional Syrian house. The children during the activity are able to build the Syrian house from the materials that we provide to them, are able to build the Syrian house from support from their parents. That way we collect and engage the parents as well as the caregivers and the children together to make them strengthen the relationship, to provide them with the needed psychosocial, with the things that their children did not see before, trying to make them to link them to their home country.
And this is because many of them, many children were born in the refugee camps. Is that right? They were born from refugee parents, but they still haven't had a chance to see their country.
Yes, in Zaatari camp, it established in 2012.
Right. Yeah.
And Azraq camp established in 2014 in April. So most of the people who are living in Azraq camp, that children specifically, we provide them the support or the services that we provide them. Most of them now are children who were born inside the camps and who raised inside the camps. Even they were not born there, they raised there because they came to the camp with maybe months or maybe 1 year to 2 years age.
Thank you. I wanted to dive into our programs with a few pictures that you shared with me before a little bit more. This picture is from our psychosocial support work. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
Sure, okay. Actually, when I see this picture, I feel happy and feel proud because these male caregivers are our heroes in the field. in the beginning of establishing our services inside the camps, especially the males were refusing or were angry. We're not going to participate with you with sessions. What do you mean by sessions? What do you mean by providing with parenting skills? Do you think that I don't know what is parenting? Do you know that I do not have skills to raise my children? This is the biggest challenge that we were facing, the tradition, the culture there between the people inside the camps. The male refused to participate in any kind of these sessions. But step by step, trying to engage them in the developing their own activity, developing their own area of interest, developing their own the needed skills that they want to provide. We make them feel that they own these activities. They're not belonging to Mercy Corps. It's your need. We need you to be part of this designing the projects. The participants, we call the Syrian participants in both camps, are part of our designing the activity. We're not designing the activity based on our thoughts. No, we make them engage in the designing process, consult them the whole process of designing the activities. And now they are the big heroes now who are participating with us, sharing the knowledge that they gain from these sessions and try to transfer it to their peer, transfer it to the other parents. And now they are outreaching for, on behalf of Mercy Corps, they're trying to tell the people about the skills that they gained from the parenting, from the psychosocial support. And we have a lot of success story. And we hope if you can, someday you can visit us to see the work that the people had inside Zaatari camp, to see the people lives inside both camps.
Definitely, and they're very big camps. They're almost like small towns and small cities. This type of work, I like how it's applied to both caregivers who are not directly parents of the people of the young refugees, and the parents as well, and they're treated exactly the same way. So yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, when we call that caregivers, we mean here that caregivers because some of the children, unfortunately, sadly, do not have their parents with them. Some of them are raised by their grandfathers, grandparents, uncles, aunts. That's why we are providing for the caregivers. We're not specifically providing these activities only for parents.
Yeah. I would like to just ask you to tell us a bit more about the cultural heritage projects that we work on. You mentioned them already in like a few minutes ago. If you could give us a little bit of an insight about what our
Yeah.
cultural heritage activities are.
Cultural heritage is a psychosocial activity that provide the we're not going to call them as a leadership skills as much as strengthen the relation between the caregivers and their children by linking the children with their homeland. You can see in this picture, these children were born inside Zaatari camp, and they have never got the chance to see Syria or even see anything related to Syria. Here we are providing them with toolkits, with booklet, with some material in order to be able to see the traditions thing, the culture inside Syria, what kind of cooking, tradition cooking they have in Syria, what kind of mosques, what kind of buildings that they have, a lot of amazing things that they use, mosaic things that they use to do. The facilitator with them is trying to give them the picture that they have to do the mosaic in it. And in the end of this activity, we invite the caregivers in order to have a sharing session with them. That way, the caregivers can provide a story to their children inside the session and sharing it in front of all the other caregivers and all other parents. We make like a huge group of people, and that's before COVID. Unfortunately, now it's somehow restricted. Before Corona, like an event, a ceremony for the caregivers as well as for their children. The caregivers get the chance to see what things that their children made, and the children get the chance to hear a lot of traditions and cultural stories from their parents in front of a big audience, and they feel proud because their parents are sharing these stories in front of my friends and in front of my teacher. This is, we call it as turath thaqafi, cultural heritage. And also we provide them with some tradition and culture about Jordan in order to make them know what kind of culture and the tradition inside Jordan that we are sharing. And there is a lot of sharing things between Syria and Jordan that makes them feel happy.
It's really interesting to see how much we can do around support for young people and children. One of the, can you hear me okay? Yeah. One of the programs that we focused on last year was around support to youth in education, and this type of support to children, support to young people, was really appreciated and engaging with our supporters as well. So thank you for telling us a bit more about this. I'm going to move on to another picture that you shared with me a few weeks ago. I really like this picture. And yeah, it really represents how the staff, Mercy Corps staff in Jordan is there not only to implement and work on programs, but also to share directly some time with the project participants. I think this picture was taken in Azraq, is that right?
Yes, it's we are celebrating the Eid. I don't know how. I really find it really difficult to express my feelings toward this picture because it's Eid and it is a very important part of the year that we celebrate the Eid. During the Eid, as a staff, Mercy Corps staff, as participants, we do not take vacations as a leave or as a Eid vacation. No, we are waiting for the Eid in order to celebrate the Eid inside the camps. We are the character that you can see in this picture. Actually, this is one of our Mercy Corps staff who's wearing this character, Mickey Mouse, for the children. We're celebrating it with the children as well as their caregivers. It makes a lot of smiles, a lot of happiness inside the camps. We distribute for them a candy in order to Eid. For us, it's for all the people, but we are here. It's specifically for the children, because when Eid comes, no one can sleep. We're waiting for the Eid until the morning came, and we, as a Christmas time, when the children cannot sleep waiting for Santa Claus. For us, Eid, it's like we get up so early, wearing our characters, the clothing, and directly go to the camp celebrating the Eid with the children. As you can see, their smiles, their happiness with that. I wish if you could be here in Eid specifically to see the happiness that they are during this time with the caregivers. Even the caregivers actually participated with us during Eid.
And I think another powerful story that I would like to share today is Mamoon's story, going back to the psychosocial support to caregiver. Could you maybe tell us who Mamoon is?
Yeah. Okay. Mamoon is one of the hero, as I mentioned before, that we have a parenting psychosocial support activity. This activity is called Family Superhero. And this name came from the fathers and the caregivers themselves. They wished to call it as a family superhero program. Mamoon is 48 years old. He's a father of 6 children who's living in Zaatari camp. Coping with unpredictable circumstances is part of his daily life in Zaatari. Realizing the significant role that he has to do and play as a parent in his children's life, he always took interest to develop himself and also to, especially in relation to parenting. Once Mamoon heard about Azraq activities, specifically for Family Superhero Program, which providing psychosocial parenting skills to the parents from one of his friends. He signed up to be one of our participants in the program. He was always looking for more learning opportunities, as he shared with us, to improve his life with his family. Prior to joining the program, Mamoon reported that there was a lot of parenting skills that he did know about, given that the challenge faced raising children, 6 children, inside a small space, 4x4 caravan. All of the family members are gathering together inside such a small space. They were children, various complicated circumstances that he were facing due to the rapid changes in the living circumstances. For Mamoon, managing 6 children, it's as a family member, and he has lost discipline and stability. He was searching for new methods, a new way in order to get support from another specialized person who maybe can help them, support him, to provide him with coping mechanism skills in order to be able to rebuild his relationship with his family members, with his wife, and with his family as well. Open participating with Family Superhero, Mamoon learned about activity called breathing exercise that relieve stress and relax the body and make a connection between the body and the mind, as well as a communication and expression exercise like talking, writing. It gives you more skills in order to be able to express your feeling in a way that do no harm to other, which he found to be the most useful and effective on a personal level. He also learned about a significance of self-discipline and ways to turn negative thoughts into positive and productive ones. As for his parenting skills, Mamoon now gives his children space to express their feelings regarding any problems that they are may face, and providing them with support in order to deal with the problems or issues, stress that they may feel. Today, Mamoon applies what he learned, communicate with his children in a calm, clear environment, even when he's stressed or afraid for their safety. In this picture, you can see that he is sharing with his children or participating with his children to do some activity related to the program that he learned from Family Superhero program.
That is a very powerful and emblematic story. So thanks for sharing that. I wanted to actually jump in with this event. Rachel, maybe you might want to talk about this as we are coming to the end of our live conversation, and we're going to open up to a few questions. I saw that a lot of questions came through the chat in the past few minutes, so we're going to try and respond as many as we can. But before we do that, Rachel, do you want to talk a little bit about what this slide represents?
Yes, of course. Thanks, Matteo. So to mark 10 years of conflict in Syria, we are challenging our supporters to move for Mercy Corps and walk, run or cycle 154 kilometres in 31 days. 154 kilometres is the distance on foot from Damascus in Syria to Zaatari refugee camp in Jordan. And we know that this is a journey most most of us can only ever imagine having to make, but for thousands of Syrians, they have had to make this journey or a similar one to find safety. And Mercy Corps, as an organisation, has been working in Syria, Jordan and neighbouring countries since the beginning of the conflict. So we wanted to do something that would encourage our supporters to take steps in solidarity with Syrian refugees and also fundraise to support vulnerable communities in crisis. And the challenge started on the 1st of March, but if you are interested in taking part, then please feel free to sign up today, and you can start your 31-day challenge from today. So that would end sort of around about the 17th of April. I can put the link in the chat box for anybody who is interested as well.
Thanks, Rachel. I think I did another 13 kilometers today at lunch.
Nice,
so I'm
very
pretty,
good, Matteo.
pleased with that. Unfortunately, I only started yesterday, so yeah, I'm powering through the kilometers. Cool. Shall we ask some of the questions? I would maybe start with the questions that we received via email to then move on to the questions that we got on the chat. Rachel, do you want to start?
Yeah, of course. I can start us off with our first question. So, Hannah, thank you so much for the presentation. One question that we had in advance was, how many COVID-19 cases are there among Syrian refugees in the camps? And also, how is the vaccine program working so far in Jordan?
Okay, I'm sorry, I was talking while mute. So as for Zaatari, until the moment, unfortunately, we have 1,446 confirmed cases. 72 of them are active. As for Azraq, there are 640 confirmed cases and 8 of them are active. In Jordan, daily unfortunately we're reaching around 10,000 daily COVID confirmed cases in Jordan. As for the vaccine, the government announced for a website in order to register for the vaccine and that align all the people who is outside the camps and inside the camps. Everyone has to sign for this to get the vaccine. And also they are raising the awareness in order to make the people to register to get the vaccine, but the priority are given to the elderly and those who have chronic diseases.
I'm actually going to jump in before you ask the next question. Is there some sort of priority in which people are getting vaccinated when they sign up, starting maybe, I don't know, here in the UK, we start from older people, moving down to, in category at risk or with chronic diseases, and then we move on. Is it similar in Jordan?
Yeah, it is similar. We have started with the doctors as well as the elderly who is above 60 years old, and with the people who have illness or at risk of being have COVID or coronavirus, like the people who have heart disease or some chronic diseases that they may be at risk.
Thank you.
Great. I'm going to jump in with a question right now. How has COVID impacted our programs, both directly and indirectly? And how have you coped with its impact on our work?
Okay. The COVID, it's a big challenge, not only for our program as Mercy Corps, but it's also impacted all the activities and all the services in Jordan as a country. But for us inside Zaatari and Azraq camp, it became more difficult because the people inside the camps now are more in need for the psychosocial, because now they are totally not allowed to get out of the camp camp, even in Zaatari camp, not only in Azraq camp as in Village 5. Now both camps are not allowed to get out of the camps. All of the community services or the community safe spaces now are closed. They can go nowhere in order to release their stress rather than the host community. They can go outside, but it's impacted actually our activity. Now we are trying to adapt our activity in order to be able to provide the needed psychosocial or the urgent psychosocial support for the community. They are asking us to provide them with sessions. We consult them what kind of easy platforms that we can connect with you, and they choose to provide them through WhatsApp groups. This is the easy thing that they can be in communicate with us. This one of the things that the community shared actually with us during the COVID. Imagine that a lot of people, family members, are in a small space and there are no schools, nowhere to go out, no gardens, or nowhere they can go. So we are trying to decrease the level of the stress inside the family members, as well as we're providing them with hygiene kits in order to minimize this breed of inside the both camps. As we know, both camps are a lot of people traffic there, both camps, and we are trying to minimize the spread the corona by providing the hygiene kits and also awareness sessions about the corona, or how should you deal with one of your family members with got corona, and how you can explain to the children about corona. We don't want to make them feel fear to death because of corona. We're trying to provide them with the specific information related to corona, and this information came from the ministry, of course, the Ministry of Health.
That's very interesting to see how sorry, we are running parallel programs of both awareness, hygiene, and other types of support around COVID-19, not only in Jordan but around the Middle East, in Africa, in Asia, in Southeast Asia in particular, in South America. We're really working day and night through many difficulties and through a lot of restrictions around the world. So it's quite impressive how much we managed to get done. We had a few live conversations in the past year with team members from around the world. Some of you may have seen them, and we spoke about this really, and how awareness, as well as your basic hygiene packs are really important, because certain areas cannot access not only those hygiene kits but also the information they need to keep healthy and safe. And yeah, so we really appreciate all that work. We will be able to start sharing with our supporters a bit more around our COVID-19 work and what the roadmap ahead looks like for us and other humanitarian organizations. Before we move on to the next questions, I just wanted to remind people that if they haven't already, they can go to our donation page to make a donation to support our work, not only in Jordan, but around the Middle East and in the other countries around the world where we work. Any donation is very much appreciated. I'm also going to stop sharing the the presentation so that we can see each other's faces properly. Here we go. Do we have more questions from our supporters?
Yes, we do, and I'm jumping in with another one now. So Hannah, so if 20% of the Syrian population living in Jordan are in one of the two camps, the other 80%, I believe, are living in host communities, correct? And so I had a question then about after families are arriving in the refugee camps, is there an eventual transition from the camps to then living in the host community? And if so, how are those families handling a transition?
Hana, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So when the people came from Syria, first thing they registered through UNHCR and the government of Jordan, the Ministry of Interior. They signed up in order to give them a document in order to be able to move inside Jordan. And after that, they take them to the refugee camps Azraq and Zaatari if they came from the port there as a refugee. When they when they live inside the camp, they have sometimes they can't go outside the camp. I'm talking about Zaatari because Azraq is a different situation in Zaatari, specifically Village 5. In Zaatari camp, if you want to go out of Zaatari camp, you have to register to the MOI, Ministry of Interior, and the UNHCR in order to inform them that you want to leave the camp. It's going to be a process, but if you want to go out of the camp, the support from the NGOs, there is a support from the NGOs inside the camp. They are looking for better job opportunities outside of the camp, but the living conditions outside of the camp, it's almost more difficult because they have to afford their own maybe rent for the houses, electricity, water, everything that they have to pay by themselves. While in the camps, they get back to the camps because there is it's a camp and everything they can get it inside the camps, even the basic needs. There is a communication who can support. There is a community who can support the refugees outside the camp. It's a difficult condition for the people, especially who have a lot of family members inside them and cannot afford even the basic needs for them or for their family. As for Azraq camp, Village 5, it's a different situation. You don't, no one is allowed to go even for educational purposes. For example, if a girl who is now 18 and she finished her high school and she wants to register to complete her education in the universities, she's not going to be able to do that. One thing that Corona or COVID-19 made it special for the refugees inside Zaatari camp that they can complete their education remotely, because most of the education in the world now became remotely, and now they can participate with the university remotely. Here our support came as trying to provide them with internet bundles in order to be able to engage with the other universities and to complete their education as well.
Thank you. I saw a few more questions coming from the chat.
Yep, I have another one here. So this is sort of putting two questions together. Hannah, do you think these camps will become permanent and that the Syrian refugees are likely to spend the rest of their lives living in these camps? And what other options do they have for the future?
Okay. For the Syrians here in Jordan, we cannot, or as the government do not force anyone to get back to Syria. He has the choice. If you want to stay in Jordan, this is your second country. You can stay whatever you want. And if you want to get back to Syria, you have to run another process. Like when you register to come here, you have to register to go back to Syria. So when we ask the people, are you thinking to go back to Syria, at least for the near future? It's a significant number of the Syrian inside the camps are refused totally to to get back to Syria, especially at the near future. They have a lot of fear of getting back to Syria. They said that it's unsecure to go back to there. It's unsafe to go back to Syria. So for them living inside the camps, it's more safer, more secure than getting back to Syria. And for the hope, no one can live without hope, actually. But sometimes when you see that everything is difficult for you to reach, to afford, sometimes you begin to lose hope. This came here, we can intervene with them, trying to make them feel the hope. By providing the needed psychosocial, you make them feel that there is a hope and they have to have this hope. Because if you lose the hope, you're not going to be able to continue your life. You're not going to be able to communicate with people. You're not going to be able even to breathe, to think, to have any kind of a dream that you are going to be achieve in the near future. We're building the basic life for them in order to make them have their hope and not to lose hope.
Great, thank you. I'm going to ask another question that has just come through. So with regard to schooling in the camps, are those being run by, or what is Mercy Corps' participation in those? And also, are the adult refugees in the camps assisting with the schooling?
Okay, there is the schools are managing by, of course, we know the Ministry of Education, and in coordination directly with UNICEF, who is the co-chair of the schools inside both camps. Our intervention with the schools, we are a part of the UNICEF's programs inside both camps. We are working with the disabilities, providing non-formal inclusive education, trying to include the adults and the children who left the schools early, or maybe who dropped out of the schools, trying to engage them again in the schools by providing them with intensive classes to be able to be like their peers in the school, and to try to engage also the disabilities with the people, providing them with materials that enable them to be able to join the school inside the camps.
Great, thanks so much, Hannah. I'm not quite sure how we're doing for time, Matteo, but another question that we have is, are you doing any work with the Syrian refugees not in the camp, so the ones that are living in the host communities? And if so, what are we doing to support them?
Yeah, a good question, actually, because yes, we have a big program called a psychosocial supportive program. This psychosocial supportive program, part of it is inside the camps, and the other part is for the outside the camps. Outside the camps, we're focusing on the youth. We provide them with psychosocial. It's something called Nature Club, where it's a sports, physical, psychosocial activity that we provide to the youth. The facilitators from these Mercy Corps staff, and we train another facilitators in order to be able to provide the youth with these skills, to be able, like I said, that we're trying to provide them with the skills to be able not to lose the hope outside the camps. And something I really need to mention inside and outside the camp, that one of the big goals that Mercy Corps do is train Syrian volunteers and facilitators, and we give them a leadership skills, we give them a facilitation skills, and we help them to be a facilitator. We provide them with the TOT training and make them lead the sessions that we are provide to the participants. They are a part of our project, and they are who's leading the sessions with the guests. They are part of our programs. This is one of the components that we are providing to enhance the skills of the Syrian, the adults, in order to build their capacities because one day they're going to go back to their homes, and we need to enhance the skills that they have, and we need to make sure that they're going to take these skills with them and to provide the other peers from their age, and to try to find a way in order to find new opportunities and try to rebuild their homeland. I'm talking about inside and outside the camp.
Thank you, Hana.